Hi, readers. I am so excited to kick off a new unit, a new opportunity for learning with you today. We are really going to be focusing on nonfiction reading. All right, so nonfiction, not fake. We're going to be reading some articles, some books, sets of texts that all focus on a similar idea that you get to pick. Yes, you are going to be in charge of your own researching and gathering of ideas to eventually come together and create a final piece of work to share with the world. So I'm sure once I told you that, a lot of you already started thinking, gears are turning in your head, and you're thinking of all the things that you would want to write about, right? I love baseball. I'm on my baseball team. I'm going to write about baseball. I love koala bears. I can make a presentation and research koala bears. Yeah, I think that'd be pretty cool. But is that really challenging yourself? Is that really creating an opportunity for you to learn? Readers, today we're going to explore who we are when we read nonfiction. Are we readers who like to explore topics we already feel like experts on? Or are we readers who like to explore new topics that interest us, but we don't know much about? Knowing the answers to these questions will help you keep high energy during this reading unit. So think about what I just said. What kind of reader of nonfiction are you? Are you somebody that knows the topics you like and sticks to those topics because they sound interesting to you or because you already know a lot about them? Or are you someone who likes to learn and read about new things? The big push of this unit is going to be focusing on that second question. We want to become readers that explore new topics that interest us. They're interesting. We just don't know much about it yet. I recently have been working on this a lot because I have been working in college on getting a master's degree. So in order to get that degree, I have to do a lot of reading, and a lot of the things I've been reading about are technology. I love technology. I love technology in schools and how it works, right? But I don't know much about some of the research all the time. So I like the opportunity of taking something I know I like but don't know much about and having that opportunity to research it. So today, this is what we are going to focus on. I have a resource for you that has some options or just some ideas to start with and places for you to go and research and start gathering these ideas. So before we get into that, I think it's going to be important for you as a reader to slow yourself down a little bit and think about, okay, what is something I definitely know a lot about that I should probably avoid researching, and think about how you're going to challenge yourself. So right now, go ahead and get out a piece of scrap paper or get your notebook out and let's make a T-chart together, okay? One side of your T-chart is going to be topics I know a lot about. There's the T in the T-chart. And the other side of your T-chart is topics I want to know more about. Before I send you off and ask you to start looking into things here, I want us to stop and think here. So I'm going to make my own list. And while I make my own, why don't you go ahead and add some more to yours? As much as the topics are going to add to this site are interesting and fun and you may want to research, we're going to actually avoid things on this list for this unit. I want you to push and challenge yourself to take the time to get to know something new that you don't normally do right away, but would definitely be interested in knowing more about. So topics I know a lot about. These are things that I would almost consider myself like an expert on. So I'm thinking, what do I know a lot about? I know a lot about dogs and puppies, right? When I was growing up, I had a ton of dogs. My dogs had puppies. My dad took the dogs to dog shows. I know a lot about that. I'm not going to research it, even though it's interesting to me and I like it. I'm not going to go into a bunch of research on that. Another topic I know a lot about, but I'm probably going to avoid doing any extra research on, is like fitness. So I'm noticing some of these things are just connected to my interests, my hobbies, right? I know a lot about how to run well and how to row well and how to lift weights. Oh, and even going off that, that sparked some new thinking for me. I played softball. I did volleyball and gymnastics. As much as it interests me and I'd love to read about some athletes and some things that they're doing, I'm like, I already know a lot about that. I need to challenge myself to learn something a little bit new, something that I'm interested in and haven't had an opportunity to research. So some of you might have some longer things on your list. I'm imagining some of you might add ideas like Legos. Some of you will probably add ideas on video games. This is such a great opportunity for you to kind of discover some new things about yourself, some new things that you didn't know you would have such an interest in. And that's where this other side comes in. Have you ever like seen something or noticed something and been like, wow, I don't know anything about that. I kind of want to know more, right? That's what you're asking yourself. What are some things that you haven't researched yet or maybe don't know too much about, but the little bit you do know makes you want to know more? So recently, I love watching documentaries. Recently, I watched a documentary that was about like fishing and how fishing plays a really big role in climate change. So I might add in like ideas about fishing. Other things that I know a little bit about from that documentary was just like how the animals and taking away animals. So maybe I'd say endangered. Going off of that theme, I also remember hearing a little bit about the coral reefs. And I know they're dying, but I don't like know exactly what's going on there. So I'm like really curious about animals. Oh, I'm having a really hard time thinking. What should I do? Are you having a hard time getting ideas? Yeah. So here is what I want you to do. I don't expect you to have this perfect list just off of thinking off the top of your head, right? Sometimes we need things and ideas to kind of help jog our memory. So take a look at what I have here. You have access to this Padlet. It's the high interest text set. It has a couple samples and ideas on topics maybe you don't know much about, but maybe you're looking at it and you're going, ooh, that's interesting. Robot nurses. This one kind of fits my idea of endangered animals. Insect superfood. The food that can feed and maybe save the planet is bugs. Ooh, I don't know if I want to read about people eating bugs though. As weird as it is, I think it's weird. It doesn't necessarily interest me. Driverless cars. That is interesting to me. I know like Teslas can drive themselves, but also I'm very curious about how that works. Like I know those Google cars. So I have a little bit enough to say I'm interested, but I never actually researched this. This is an opportunity for me to do that. Junk orbiting in space. Okay. Some cool information about amphibians. This one's a little bit about sports climbing. And then on the end here, there's a link to this site, Doggone News. So I can go ahead and select here. I can scroll my mouse over and scroll down for different articles that are linked here. Some of them even have some really good descriptions of what you're going to find when you click on that link. So like this one says News ELA, tons of links to articles here. I can see a little snippet. There's like at least 6. So I encourage you to look on here if you're having a hard time gathering ideas or thinking of something interesting. Doggone News is also a really great resource because it gives you articles about things going on in the world, science ideas, social studies ideas, and it also has some really interesting topics that you might not always think about. Rare dinosaur fossils sitting on a nest of eggs on Earth. If you're someone that knows a lot about dinosaurs, push yourself to do something new. But if fossils interest you, right, that could be something you could add to your list. So I want you to explore today. Okay. I have that Padlet resource for you that has a ton of links and things that you can look at. Don't think you have to stick to that though. There are endless options on the internet, right? You might have some books at home. Check out Epic, check out Raz. Do a Google search of an idea, put for kids after. But I want you to work on making a list of like, okay, here's what I'm going to avoid doing research on. And here are some things that I find interesting. I don't have much research or maybe nothing yet, but I definitely think I want to know more. Start generating that list. Get about 5, 6 ideas. Okay. And spend your reading time doing this today. You might get really lost in an idea, right? And find yourself in it for a while. That might tell you that would be the topic you want to do some research on. But I want you to spend this time today generating ideas. Okay. What are some topics that are interesting to me that I think would be really good ideas for research? All right, readers, you're off